Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos, and welcome or welcome back. Today's video I'm going to be talking to you about rat diet, and most specifically, what treats can you feed your rats? Now I have a series on my channel already, Rat Diet 101, and this is going to slot right in. The first video in this series was talking about the Shunamite dry mix, how to make it and why it's important, and why it makes up the basis of your rat's diet and why it's important to get it right. The second video in this series was about balanced wet meals and how this can add a lot of nutrition and enrichment to your rat's diet and how to make it balanced, and one of my recipes. Now this video is specifically about treats and really does round out the main part of this series. I will also be making future videos on rat diet on specific topics. Like one of my last videos, I took you to Sainsbury's with me to pick out processed grains for the mix. I thought that was a really interesting way, different way to show you what options are out there for you to include in your rat's food. Now, today we're going to talk about rat treats. So as we know, rats are omnivores. They can eat everything. That is why they are so prolific around our settlements and towns and cities, now, because they can eat everything that we do, and so they do thrive when we waste our food. Treats should only make up a small percentage of their diet. It should not be an overwhelming amount, and it really shouldn't be enough that it would affect the balance of your mix and balanced wet meals. Treats should be infrequent and small. They should be a treat. It shouldn't be something they expect all day, every day. They can eat everything in moderation, as I mentioned. There are lots of rumours, myths out there that things like chocolate or grapes or onion or citrus are harmful to rats, and this is not true. A lot of this information seems to be sort of shoehorned in from other species where chocolate is an issue, where onions are an issue. But for rats, this just isn't true. Male rats can have an increased risk of testicular cancer with the protein in citrus called D-limonene. However, for that to actually take effect, they would have to eat so much orange or so much lemon that they just physically can't eat that amount. So you don't have to worry about a little bit of lemon juice or orange or anything like that in their diet. It is absolutely fine, despite the scaremongering you might see online. Don't worry about that. Those are okay. So the first treat option you have for your rats is fruit and veg. If you have a variety of fruit and veg in their diet, they will absolutely love this. It's great enrichment. Obviously, you're going to be wanting to feed fruits in moderation, carefully, and considering how often you're giving fruits, because they are very high in sugar, as are some vegetables. But you can feed these in very interesting ways, in kebabs or in foraging toys, little morsels or in a salad, and they will really enjoy this food. Don't overdo it, because sometimes if they're getting too much vegetables, their stool can become a little bit loose and a bit stinky. So do keep an eye on that. And also make sure if you're feeding foods like fresh fruits and veg, that if they aren't eating all of it, you are taking it out of the cage before it can turn bad. The second type of treats that you can give your rats are what I would like to categorize as the natural treats. They're part of their diet sort of treats. So nuts, seeds, cereals, things like that. So this can be seeds in their shells or nuts in their shells, or even forage or sprays. A lot of people will say, oh, why would you use sprays with rats? Because it's enrichment, it's fun, and it's a nice treat. It's not something you'd want to give them all the time, especially not the high fat content ones, but it's something they will really enjoy, and it is a nice treat to give them. It's a good option, as I mentioned, because it's already part of their diet. They're already eating these types of food, and these types of food require them to use their brains and their teeth to get into them, which is a great enrichment for their mental well-being as well. The third sort of treat you can feed your rats are Shopboard treats. Now this can range from the baked treats for small animals or dog and cat treats. I would just ensure that if you're feeding dog and cat treats that these are cooked. I wouldn't be feeding rats any raw meat situations. I would also be aware that any treats targeted specifically for herbivores, rabbits, guinea pigs, chinchillas, that sort of food, may not be of interest to your rats. They're not going to be wanting to eat a bunch of hay. That's just not the main part of their diet. They can nibble on it and they may eat a little bit, but it's not their favourite. So I would avoid those sort of hay-based treats. Use these sparingly, as they can be either high in fat or high in sugar or high in protein. So you don't want to overfeed these types of treats because they can unbalance your mix. So do bear that in mind, but they can be a really great option. I love to use specifically dog training treats because they are a great size for a little treat once in a while for the rats. And I love to sort of scour the shelves and look for the ones with the really great ingredients. I found a couple of brands that I really like. The two main ones are Carnilove. They have some really nice ingredients in their treats. And also Denzel's. These come in little morsels that are really easy to give out to the rats, and it is a really fun time for them. Rats are one of those pets that you can pretty much fit supplies that were meant for any other animal and use them with your rats. You can use bird supplies, you can use small animal supplies, you can use dog supplies, you can use cat supplies, you can use things that weren't even meant for animals at all. So I really like that because you can sort of like go on a little like scavenge hunt and look for stuff. But yeah, any treats from the shops are an option, but these are ones I would definitely be in moderation, as with everything else. And the last thing that rats can eat is human food. Now this is not something that I would give very often at all, especially because they can tend to be high in fat, high in salt and high in sugar, and these are not something we want to feed overly to our rats, but it is safe. So if your rats wants a nibble of lasagna or a little bit of cottage pie, they are absolutely fine. There's no need to worry about seasonings and things like that. They can take seasonings. I once saw somebody say online that you can't give like chicken bones to your rats because of the seasonings. It is okay. Seasoning doesn't permeate bone, so don't worry about that. But yes, any food that you eat, they can probably have a little nibble of. It's not something that I would encourage you to do all of the time, but it is not harmful for them and it is safe in very small amounts given sparingly. I do like to share my human food with older rats, especially those with a reducing quality of life and ones that I think I'll have to say goodbye to. It's a nice bonding experience, but it's not something, I'm not out there, you know, shoving lasagna in the cage all the time, but it is safe. So those are the types of treats you can feed your rats. Do remember that as with our diet, everything in moderation. Treats are a really good way to bond. It is enriching, some of them, and it is super tasty. So your rats will enjoy this. You just need to be making sure you're feeding it in moderation and that you're not unbalancing your mix with how much treats you're giving and things like that. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, all of that, leave them down in the comments. If you want to stick around and watch my rat keeping and breeding journey, do give me a subscribe. I make informational videos like this. I make videos about my experience and I also vlog. So yeah, thanks very much for watching and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!